We got to get to some hot topics out here, and that includes Pete Jensen from the NHL going to join us here. Big doings in the NHL market. How have you been enjoying yourself right now, Pete, knowing that the NHL season is done, but also there's no rest for the weary here?
What's going on, guys? Yeah, absolutely not. This is such a tight timeline, right, between the Cup final ending on Monday and Game 7 in pretty epic fashion. Big congrats to the Florida Panthers on not falling apart completely and getting the job done there in front of the home crowd. But yeah, now we're at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, awards, draft, and draft day 2. So a lot of intrigue starting at number 2, but great to be on with you guys.
Good stuff, Pete. And by the way, if anybody sees his background now and is envious here, Pete's waking up early with it. Typically, he's in the New York market with us. Now he's out on the West Coast. And also, tell us why you're out on the West Coast and what's going down at the Sphere.
Yeah, so the NHL Draft is big doings for sure. Is going to be at the Sphere tonight, Friday night, prime time, right? It's going to be really fun. It's the first ever sporting event and live broadcast from the Sphere in its history. Very unique building. Have yet to be inside, but I'll be inside in a few hours. And I think everybody expects Macklin Celebrini of the San Jose Sharks to go number 1. Seems relatively locked in considering his family's from the Bay Area and his father works for the Warriors. So great storyline there for the projected number 1 pick.
Well, you mentioned it, Pete. The consensus, finally, unlike the NBA draft, the consensus for the number 1, we're all on the same page. But what happens at number 2 now with Chicago? What do they need? Where do you think they're going to go? And will it move the needle one way or the other for this franchise?
Right. So you remember Chicago got Connor Bedard in the draft last year, of course, the generational number 1 center. He won the Calder Trophy. He delivered. I think they need to shift the focus to defense. And what a great draft to be able to do so, where you could make a case for 6 different guys at the defenseman position to go in the top 10 of this draft. Maybe it'll be in the top 11. The Sharks actually traded up for the number 11 pick from 14. So really interesting there. Maybe they could nab one of these defensemen, including Carter Yakemchuk, who scored 30 goals as a defenseman in the WHL last year. So that's really good stuff. The Sharks maybe could double up there on him. But yeah, the big debate here is like Artem Levshinov from Michigan State. I compare him a lot to Zeev Buium from Denver, both freshman defensemen in the NCAA. Michigan State this year. Michigan State's been terrible in college hockey for so many years, but they burst onto the scene, and Levshinov was a huge reason why. But like, to me, I don't know. I'd rather probably be back a couple of spots or maybe even take a bold call on Zeev Buium from Denver. About the same size, actually was better than a point per game last year in the NCAA, and Denver won the national championship, whereas Michigan State and Levshinov about the same age, but he was fewer than a point per game. So Levshinov's projected to go at number 2 by most outlets, including NHL.com. But I wonder if that's going to be a comparison between Levshinov and Zeev Buium for the years to come. And maybe the team that gets Buium a couple of picks later might win out.
Now, Pete, we can have some fun here this episode and just say, you know what, let's have some fun and talk about Matvei Michkov, because that's where everybody wants to talk about how many Stanley Cups he is going to bring for the Flyers. For myself, I hope he's a generational talent. The correlation to this draft is, do we believe Macklin Celebrini, who's 18 years old and a center from Boston University, is a generational type talent? Like, what do we expect out of him even coming into the league early in his career?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like somewhere behind Bedard probably, but maybe not by too much. You got some great Boston connections for the Sharks team. The GM, Mike Greer, played at the same prep school as their other young center stud, Will Smith. And Will Smith went to Boston College. And now Celebrini won the Hobey Baker for top player in college hockey as the youngest player in the NCAA this past year for Boston University. So BU has the connection with him and GM Mike Greer, and the other guys know each other from playing in the same division and being from the U.S. So it's really playing in the U.S. as youngsters, I should say. So it's a really good situation for the Sharks to be in as they finally tore it down. Like there were so many years where they refused to rebuild. Now they tore it down, and in just 1 year, 2 years, you find yourself with 2 top 5 picks at the center position that you could build your franchise around. They hope that someday it could be, like a Crosby Malkin type thing, and maybe they're winning championships and getting over the hump down the road 4, 5, 6 years from now.
So we've seen some craziness over the last couple of drafts here. Are you expecting this to be business as usual, chalk across the board? Or are you expecting there's going to be 1 or 2 surprises hitting the board there at the top of it?
I think there could very well be a surprise at number 2. I mean, we've seen it a couple years ago. Everybody thought Shane Wright would be number 1, and he dropped to number 4 up in Montreal when Montreal had the first pick and they took Slavkovsky. And then even last year, like most people, when we were talking to the prospects before the draft last year, after Bedard, people expected Adam Fantilli at number 2. Instead, he fell to number 3, and Leo Carlsson ended up being an absolute stud for the Anaheim Ducks, and he was taken at number 2 by surprise last year. So we have seen a lot of drama and randomness despite the prospect rankings and central scouting and NHL.com and all the experts out there. It really only boils down to what that particular team wants and what they've seen in the prospects. So yes, I would expect a surprise, maybe even at number 2.
Absolutely. And the surprise that we're going to have is Pete Jensen. We're going to keep him around for another segment here because there was an award ceremony yesterday with some great players, got the hardware. I want to ask Pete about that, but also more importantly, how this is going to project to next year and some of the odds here at the FanDuel Sportsbook to lift Lord Stanley's Cup. We just had somebody lift Lord Stanley's Cup, and it was the Florida Panthers. When are we going to see a team from Canada? It's Pete Jensen from the NHL with another segment. Don't you go anywhere. Getting the ice advice here from Pete Jensen of the NHL, and he's in town in Las Vegas. A lot of big doings there. Award ceremonies, draft, it's all going down. And we want to take a minute here to take a look at what actually happened with the awards last night. Nathan McKinnon, the Hart Trophy here, picks up the W for the MVP. Are we in agreement here, Pete, that he's deserving of the Hart Trophy yesterday as the NHL's best player?
This was one of the craziest races that I could remember. I mean, even left out of the top 3 was Austin Matthews, who had 69 goals, the most in the NHL in quite some time. So, I mean, pretty insane right there. If you look at the depth of this class for MVP, McDavid obviously won playoff MVP, and he was in the top 3. But I think it was going to be down to debating Kucherov versus McKinnon all along. McKinnon had a career year. He was one of those guys in fantasy and stuff. We always knew that if he stayed healthy for a full season, that he could rival the likes of Kucherov and McDavid in terms of really, getting into the 120s, 130s in points, that type of thing. So I'm not surprised that he won it. It's interesting, though, like with Kucherov, like he won it before. We all remember at the All-Star game, he kind of had that like lackluster effort. It comes down to the votes. So maybe that broke the tie for some people. I didn't have a vote. If I did, I would have voted McKinnon by a very slight margin, though.
And there will be some that say it's about time because he probably should have 1, if not 2, of those trophies in a couple of years past there. But what did you think about Hellebuck winning the Vezina, winning best goalie? Was that closer in your mind than how it turned out to be?
I figured he would probably win it because Thatcher Demko got injured late in the season and, that maybe broke the tie for some people. One thing, though, about Vancouver, I mean, look at the season they had after missing the playoffs the past couple of years, just to give him some love, like with Quinn Hughes winning the Norris and Rick Tocchet winning the Jack Adams and Thatcher Demko being deserving for sure, but coming in second in the Vezina race. And them also going to Game 7 against the Oilers without Thatcher Demko and nearly beating them. So, I mean, that's crazy when you think about how far they've come in the past year, the Vancouver Canucks. Now we'll see if they fall into that, New Jersey Devils type profile where they overachieve 1 year and then everybody has them on the radar the next year. So I'm not so sold on them to replicate what they did, but they got a lot of talent up there in Vancouver. But it's interesting with Hellebuck. Like, he deserved the Vezina here, but in the playoffs, man, he looked rocky, right, against the Colorado Avalanche with all those 5+ goal games allowed. But again, it's a regular season award here. He deserved it.
Exactly. Rookie was Connor Bedard. No surprise there. Also, take a look at some other awards that were given out. The Norris Trophy to Quinn Hughes as the best defender. And as Pete brought up there, Rick Tocchet, best coach in the NFL, taking home the Jack Adams. Now, we do have the draft coming up. We do have free agency coming up, which is going to change a lot of these rosters in the NHL. But let's take a look at some of those 2025 Stanley Cup options here. 3 teams at a 9-1 price next year. That's the Hurricanes, the Avalanche, and the Panthers. Heading into free agency and the draft, what are our feelings next year on who has a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup, Pete?
So many teams are close. Dallas is super close, and they have a lot of young blood that's going to continue to get better, from Wyatt Johnston, breakout season and postseason, Logan Stankoven, Maverick Bourque. So there's a lot of appeal for Dallas, even though they've fallen short. Seems like Dallas, right, almost every year since COVID is getting to the conference final or cup final. So don't count them out for sure. Interesting that the Devils are back in the conversation after acquiring Jacob Markstrom. They finally have an elite level goalie. So that's something to look at with the bounce back appeal of the New Jersey Devils. Also Edmonton, like the big elephant in the room, right, is like, Leon Draisaitl's entering his contract year. The following year, Connor McDavid's going to be entering his contract year. Is this the last couple of runs at the Cup for this group? It could very well be. Really interested to see, again, don't pull the trigger on Edmonton just yet. Let's see what they do in the offseason, who they might lose. They were playing through a lot of injuries, and they still got to Game 7 of the Cup final. So I would lean toward that team in Edmonton, where it's kind of like, you learn how to win by falling short these past years. 2 years ago, they lost to the eventual Cup champs in the Golden Knights in the second round. This year, they lost to the Panthers. Maybe Edmonton and McDavid. And Draisaitl, if he sticks around, he probably needs to stick around for me to pick them to win the Cup this coming year.
So let me ask you, Pete, last year I know a lot of guys that got burned with Ottawa, thinking they were going to be that team, that dark horse, and then they finished 31st in goaltending. Well, they ended up addressing that in a trade with Ullmark now. So where is Ottawa on your radar?
They're in that same range with the Sabres and the Red Wings, but maybe accelerated a little bit. And I'm talking about non-playoff teams with some youthful upside and chance to make the playoffs one of these years. Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle are 2 of the best forwards in the entire NHL, especially Tkachuk. I'd love to see that kid, especially after his brother won the Cup. He's never played a playoff game in the NHL. We need to see Brady Tkachuk in the playoffs at some point soon. Physical force right there. But Ullmark is a huge upgrade for the Senators. I'm tossing and turning between the Senators and the Sabres as for which one I'll have making the playoffs this coming year. The Sabres got Lindy Ruff back. They have probably a little bit more young talent, but let's see how the Ottawa defense shakes up this offseason. That was a weak link. They got to re-sign Jacob Chychrun, or maybe if he's gone, I won't like Ottawa as much. So I still put Ottawa on the fringe. I probably like Buffalo at this point in time a little bit more to get over the hump and make the playoffs next year.
Pete, about 30 seconds left in this segment. I know free agency is coming up. Is there a top free agent in the NHL that should be sought after that we should watch out for?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Steven Stamkos. I mean, Tampa Bay's cap situation for years after winning multiple cups has been a logjam. So it sounds like he might not be back, but you never know. They could always pull a surprise and make room for him, or pull a trade or something like that. But it seems like Steven Stamkos, one of the best players of this generation, could hit the open market on July 1st, which would be wild.
Pete's doing it all, from East Coast to West Coast, covering it for the NHL Network here. Thanks for joining us, Pete. Really appreciate it. We'll be right back.